evening, afternoon. What's going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters? It's your boy Shannon Coleman Sr., aka The Rev. What's up? What's up? What's up? Now I'm just chilling. Moving through life. Asking the Lord to continue to reveal himself to me as much as possible. And just really trying to stay in the presence of the Lord. I've really been focusing on this thing called temptation, because I see that temptation is running rampant in society and in the church today. A lot of times when we think about temptation, we think about immoralities, sexual immoralities. However, temptation could come in different forms. Temptation could come in different ways. Temptation can come with promotion. The enemy can tempt you to take on a promotion when you know that you're not ready for that, and it moves you out of God's will. And when we move ourselves out of God's will, then we begin to allow the enemy place to cause distractions, frustration, anxiety, depression, and all kinds of other things, anger. So we have to be mindful when things come to us that we're using discernment. God has given us the spirit of discernment so that we can test the spirit against the word and the spirit, so that we're not moving outside of the will of God and missing our divine purpose and destiny. So when the enemy comes and he promises us things and he tempts us with things, a new job or promotion, ministry, leadership, different things like that, we have to make sure that we're in God's presence, that we go to God in prayer, that we go to God in fasting, that we go and we seek the voice of the Lord to make sure that what it is that's being presented to us is in line with his will. Because when we're not aligned with the will of God, we can miss our season and we can abort our purpose. We can delay the call. Right? So that's why we have to make sure that every time something is presented to us, we are in God's presence. I've witnessed people in ministry be called pastors, be called apostles, be called bishops, be called evangelists, be called prophets by a man. However, they never went to God to see if it's something that God wanted for them. They are going by what a man says and not by what God is saying, right? And I've seen it in reverse, right? We're so busy worried about what a man says and we miss the call of God. That's why we ought to stay in his presence. That's why we ought to stay in his word, so that we can know when something is said or spoken, it's coming from God. When Samuel heard God call him, he went to Eli because he could not recognize the voice of God. He did not know God's voice yet. And Eli, although he was outside of the will of God, he told Samuel, listen, when the voice comes again, say, here I am, Lord, speak. I'm listening. That's what leadership is supposed to do when you go to leadership and you say, listen, the Lord told me that I am supposed to preach. The Lord told me that I called me to be a prophet. The Lord said that I was going to be a minister of music. Leadership is supposed to say, well, okay, go and get into the presence of the Lord and make sure that you're hearing from the Lord. And guess what? I'm going to be praying with you so that I can know how to move, how to mentor, and how to disciple you, so that you're not missing your calling and I'm not in the way of God's will. That's what real leadership would do. Real leadership wouldn't say, well, the Lord didn't tell me that, so you must not be in the will of God. That's not how this thing works. Sometimes God will reveal things to a leader, right, to minister to you, but they're not supposed to give you that word yet because you know God didn't speak to you yet. But then once God gives that word, then it's confirmation. But but sometimes God will give it to you first, and then you do tell a leader. Then the leadership should be getting in prayer and saying, "Listen, I want to make sure that my mentee, you know what I'm saying? Some people say sons and daughters, but my mentee, my disciple, you know, my disciple is hearing from God, right? That's how this thing should work. But we allow the enemy to tempt us with power and authority. Because I'm the pastor, I'm the bishop, I'm the apostle, right? We allow the enemy to tempt us with this power and authority over people, and sometimes we get fearful because we don't want them to leave, and sometimes we get fearful because we're going to think that they're going to have a bigger calling than us, a bigger following than us. But we shouldn't be even worrying about that because Paul said, "Follow me as I follow Christ." So if we're not following Christ, then it don't even matter. See, everybody get all big-headed, right? Because they want to be the shepherd. The shepherd. It's only one shepherd. Let's get that straight. And his name is Jesus, Yeshua. He's the Christ. He's Emmanuel, God with us. There's only one shepherd. I remember when I was in seminary and Dr. Jameson, he gave this analogy. He said, we're all sheep. All of us. Jesus is the shepherd. Everybody want to say under shepherd. Jesus is the shepherd. We're all sheep. But pastors, leaders, they're lead sheep. And everybody's like, I don't know, I'm the under shepherd. No, you're a lead sheep. If you really research how shepherds pick the lead sheep is the strongest of the bunch. And all of the other sheep follow the lead sheep, the strongest sheep. So what the shepherd did was he found the strongest of the flock. And he broke their hind legs. And he put them on his back. He put the lead sheep on his back and he carried the lead sheep. How many of us been broken? How many of us God called us out of our broken place, and he put us on his back, and he fed us, he gave us drink, he healed us, right? He delivered us from everything. He kept us, the enemy, away. He kept the wolves away. He kept the demonic spirits away. He healed us from depression, anxiety, drug abuse, sexual immoralities. He healed us. He carried us on his back. And he spoke to us. And he nurtured us. And he put us back together again. Lead sheep. So then the lead sheep would walk beside the shepherd. And the other sheep would follow. Follow me as I follow Christ. I'm not greater than you. I'm not bigger than you. I'm not going to be tempted with power and authority. I understand that I have no power outside of the power and the authority of Christ. I have no power. I can do nothing outside of the will of God. I'm a lead sheep. I don't want to be an under shepherd. I don't want to be a shepherd. I know that the flock only follows me because I follow Christ. There's no power and authority outside of Christ. They hear his voice, not mine. I have no voice outside of the voice that God gives me. I speak what the Holy Spirit gives me. See, sheep speak to other sheep in their language, but they follow Christ when they follow the lead sheep. So we got to get out of this This place where we think that we're higher, that we're above somebody, when we're not. Because without Jesus, we're nothing. So, I say all that to say, stop allowing the tempter to come in to tempt you and make you believe that you're more than what you are. Stay humble, stay committed, and stay in the will of God. Because anything outside of his will is sin. I say it again. Anything outside of the will of God is sin. And it will cause destruction. Broad is the way of destruction. That's hell. We on that narrow path to Jesus. So we stay where we ought to stay. We do what we ought to do. Our eyes stay fixed on Yeshua. Nothing more, nothing less. Don't let the enemy tempt you out of your purpose. Don't be Adam. Don't be Eve. Understand God said don't touch it. Understand God said don't sleep with it. Understand God says don't even engage it. Stay in his will. Stay purpose driven. And watch and see how the Holy Spirit moves in your life. I love you all with the love of God. There's nothing you can do about it. We can do all things through Christ that strengthens us. And never forget, I am my brother's keeper. And I'm also my sister's protector. And so are you. Peace.